Welcome back to Predicting the NFL with Mickey G. Happy Thanksgiving, first and foremost. Now, unfortunately, we actually did do pretty bad last week. All right, we went 6-7. That's our second time this season going below 500, and by far our worst Week 12 of all time. We got the game of the week, the upsets, both wrong. Crapfest we did get correct. And we picked the Jersey game wrong, and they lost as well. We are now 110-69 on the season, 5-7 in games of the week, 4-8 in upsets, 5-7 in crapfests, 5-7 in Jersey teams is 5-7 over at Jersey, and I'm 5-7 in my Jersey game picks for Week 12 total. So I talked about last week if we got more than 6 correct, then it would have been our best week by far. But now Week 8 is better. We're 63-23 overall in Week 8, and in Week 12 we're 63-27. So we have 4 more incorrect picks in Week 12. So I don't know what happened, but we failed. That was supposed to be our big week, and we failed. We're now 1-4 in games of the week, 3-2 in upsets, 3-2 in crap fests, 1-1 in teams are 1-1 with Jersey, and my picks are also 1-1. However, for ever, total from all seasons, we have reached our 901st correct prediction. 901 and 603 all time, so significantly in the positive. So let's see how last week went. Last week, Thursday night, the Browns beat the Steelers in a beautiful snow game. Steelers sold the end there and lost it. They probably should have won that. That was one of my incorrect picks. Then the Titans beat the Texans. Texans, who I've been saying aren't great all season long, they decided to lose to a team that I think is a bottom 3 team in the league. They lost to the Titans. That was just gross. Both of these teams were given away. Will Levis threw a pick 6 and still ended up with a victory in this game. That's how disappointing Stroud has been this season. The Dolphins completely beat up on the Patriots. The Broncos completely beat up on the Raiders. And Gardner Minshew got injured in the game, and he is now likely out for the season. The Ravens, they beat the Chargers. Chargers went out hot. They looked good, and then they just kind of couldn't do anything. Quentin Johnson had a real bad game. Was just dropping every pass. The Lions beat up on the Colts, unsurprisingly. Against a real opponent, Anthony did look bad once again. The Chiefs squeaked out one against the Panthers. They were trying to give that one away, almost able to get it, but the Chiefs were able to end up with the victory there in the end. The Vikings were ahead pretty much the whole time against the Bears, but it did end up on a field goal. But they were in decent control of the game for the most part. The Buccaneers beat up on the Giants. Daniel Jones got benched and then released. He now is signing with the Vikings practice squad. The Cowboys beat the Commanders. Commanders came back and they needed an extra point to tie after a touchdown with 14 seconds left, and they missed it. And then on the onside kick, Dallas returned it for a touchdown. So just a lot of insanity. I think there was, I want to say, 3 or 4 touchdowns in the final 4 minutes of that game. Still don't understand how it happened. Really embarrassing loss for Washington. And Daniels did not look good at all in this game. The Seahawks beat the Cardinals 16-6. Just a gross game there. And once again, one of those goofy things where, that division, anyone can win, anyone can lose kind of thing. The Packers beat up on San Francisco. I didn't know when I made my pick that Purdy and Nick Bosa were both going to be out. So there was just not a lot of great things going on there in San Francisco. I should have picked the Packers. I almost put out on Twitter, hey, I'm changing my pick to the Packers, but I'm going to keep it how it was. I should have picked them anyways to begin with. It was just a way more favorable spot for them than the Niners. So that was just bad on my part. And the Eagles beat the Rams. I need to stop picking them to win the games. It's just not working. And Saquon Barkley is destroying everyone. He had an insane game, I believe, 250 yards rushing on 25 attempts. It was 10 yards per carry. So ridiculous game from him. And as long as he's playing like that, the Eagles should win all of their games. They are really quite good when he's playing good. But that is last week's. So, time to check out this week's games. First on the list is the Raiders at the Chiefs. Now, the last time the Raiders played the Chiefs, it was a close one. However, Aiden O'Connell is now the one starting quarterback for the Raiders. I don't think he's good. The Chiefs, I think, might keep it close like they have been. It might be a one-score game, but the Chiefs are winning this one. Oh, that's right. It's the Black Friday game. The Colts are at the Patriots. This is our crap fest of the week. Colts are bad. Drake May's been playing well. I think the Colts are bad enough that Drake May and the Patriots can get a win. This is a very biased pick against Anthony Richardson, so that's why I'm going with the Patriots in this one. Next is the Steelers at the Bengals. Bengals coming off a bye. Steelers coming off a short bye. Steelers also just lost to the Browns last week. The Bengals are actually favorites in this game, but I'm not calling this an upset because, let's be honest with ourselves, the Bengals have 4 wins for a reason. The Steelers are going to beat them. Last week was a divisional game in the snow with a lot of stuff going on. I think the Steelers are going to come back this week. That was also a short week last week on a Thursday. Steelers are going to come out there. They're going to win this game. Next is the Texans at the Jaguars. People are thinking Trevor might actually play this week. I think he's now thinking, hey, if they're not going to get rid of Doug, I might as well play the sport. But he's also not ruling out surgery, so he might play, might not. I kind of want to pick the Jaguars. The Texans have not looked good, but I'm not going to do it, and there's not a guarantee that Trevor plays, and if Trevor doesn't play, I don't think there's a chance they can win this. So I'm going to go with the Texans in this one. Next is the Browns at the Broncos. Browns is a pretty solid game last week against the Steelers. Broncos, however, are doing really well, and they're playing really well against teams that are below 500 and not in the playoffs. So I'm going to go with the Broncos this one. They're doing pretty well. They have a chance to move into second in that division, actually. So I'm going with them here. The Dolphins at the Packers. Packers played really well last week. I think that's going to continue. I've been hating on the Dolphins, and they're playing a real opponent, and we know that the Dolphins against teams above 500 historically do not play well. So I'm going with the Packers. Next is the Chargers at the Falcons. Falcons coming off a bye. Chargers coming off a tough loss. Harbaugh's going to be fired up for losing to his brother. He's going to want to fix that. He's going to go out there and he's going to smash the Falcons, I think. Next is the Seahawks at the Jets. The Jets are bad. I don't think they're good. They're coming off a bye. Breece Hall also might be out. That'll hurt their offense a lot. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks in this one. Next is the Titans at the Commanders. I don't think the Commanders are going to lose to 2 superior, like very, very inferior opponents in a row. I got to go with them. There's nothing else. Will Levis is not good. He should lose this game. The Commanders should win this one. Next is our game of the week. The Eagles at the Ravens. Both teams with big wins last week against tough opponents. I'm going to pick the Ravens. Lamar, historically, against the NFC is really, 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 really good. And I think that's the pick I'm making here. Next is the Niners at the Bills. Bills are coming off a bye, and they're red hot right now, and the 49ers do not look great. I think the Bills go out there and they win this football game, and it's not close either. The Bears at the Lions. This is one of our Thursday games. This is because it's the Lions during Thanksgiving week. The Lions are gonna just embarrass the Bears, I think. They historically, obviously, they play all the Thanksgiving games, but they haven't been great necessarily. And so now they're great, and it's on Thanksgiving. This is a big match. This is a big game for the Lions specifically. Another of our Thursday night games. Our Jersey game this week. I'd already worn my Lions jersey this year, so I was like, oh, gotta wear the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. So here I am with the Cowboys jersey against the Giants. Giants at the Cowboys. The Cowboys, I think, are going to win this one. All right, DeVito didn't look great last week, but they were playing against a solid team, so that's not super shocking. But it was more of the fact that it was a big win last week for the Cowboys over Washington. Their special teams really did great stuff. I think they might have had 2 kick return touchdowns, something ridiculous. I'm going to go with the Cowboys again in this one. Next is the Cardinals at the Vikings. Cardinals, they got embarrassed last week. And the Vikings were able to squeak ahead of the Bears. So I'm going to go with the Vikings in this one. I think they're in the better division overall. And I think they're going to stay right behind the Lions there in the rankings there. So I'm going to go with the Vikings in this one. Next is the Rams at the Saints. This is our upset of the week. Now, I think these teams are fairly evenly matched, but the Rams are the favorites according to the betting lines, and they do have the better record than the Saints. However, I think their defense stinks. I think it's awful. I think Kamara should have a big game, and I also think that that deep ball to MVS is going to be hitting beautifully. So I'm actually going to go with the Saints in this one. Next is finally, our final game of the week is the Buccaneers at the Panthers. Panthers, while keeping it close the last couple of weeks, they did just lose to the Chiefs. The Buccaneers, now with Evans back, I think are looking really strong, and they looked really good last week against the Giants. I think it's going to continue here. I think a big game for Baker Mayfield and the boys, and I think a big win for them as well. There are no teams on a bye this week, but I do need to shout out the Ohio State Buckeyes. We have the game this weekend. They're going up against Michigan, and I am hoping that it's a bloodbath. I'm hoping that Ohio State wins by 50 points. I hope that they just smear them on the ground. That's what I'm hoping for. But that is what I'm going for. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure to stop by next week as well for more predictions, and hopefully we do better than we have been the last couple of weeks, because we've been falling off the wagon a little bit here. But thanks for stopping by.